Welcome everybody from the Spark Systems YouTube channel. It's great to have you here today. Once again, we're looking at our urban parking system repository that's been designed, developed and built from scratch in Enterprise Architect. Now, Enterprise Architect has been built from the ground up to be a team-based repository. And so sometimes you can have a diagram where you have 2, 3 or many more people working on the diagram at the same time. So today I'm curious to find out how we can work with multiple people on a single diagram, and I'm hoping that Stephen can show us some techniques for managing that process. So welcome, Stephen.
Thank you for the introduction, Scott. Always glad to be here. And yes, we're going to be looking at some features for teams where you have people working on the same diagram at the same time. So let's have a look at this and dive into it. As always, we go up to the top of our application, top right-hand corner, and we set the perspective. I've been working on some wireframe modeling for some UX designs this morning, and I'm going to change that perspective from the UML perspective set to the structural ones. Let's have a look at that. The tool has changed its focus to display the builder page, and we have a number of patterns in here, which you're free to use and inject these into your models. But as always, Scott, I like to start from first principles, show people how this works from the ground up, and then if you want, you can return and get the productivity gains by using these patterns. So I'll close the builder there. You notice that I'm logged in. Up in the top right-hand corner, you see that it's Stephen Maguire that's logged in to this repository. And I'm going to look at some structural models. So I'm going to click on this navigation link, and you can see I've got a number of other navigation cells, and it's the deployment model that I'm going to look at. So I'm going to click on that one again, and you notice that the deployment model opens up. We've got images that are making this diagram, embellishing and making it look a lot more appealing. So let's have a look now at what we can do with working as a team on the same diagram. So we go to the layout ribbon, and right at the end there's a panel called auto refresh, and it's got an item on it there that we can drop down and look at some of the options. And you notice at the moment that there are two options, pause and edit and resume, both on the menu and on the ribbon. They're disabled. And that's intentional, Scott, because we have to enable the auto refresh before it starts working. But before we do that, let's just have a look at what we can do. At the moment, the deployment diagram is open for editing. It hasn't been locked, and we aren't using this auto refresh feature yet. So what I'm going to do is just move this smartphone application. There you can see I've changed that in the diagram. I'm going to use Control Z on my keyboard, the undo command, to put that back where it was before. So nothing's changed on the diagram. I'm now going to bring Jenny into the picture. So Jenny Kitabashi is one of the team members here at the Urban Parking Project, and I'm going to drag her repository application onto the screen. I'll maximize that, and we'll see now that Jenny has got the same diagram open. And again, if we go to the layout ribbon, look at auto refresh, it's in exactly the same state as when I was using it when I was logged in as myself. So now I'm going to make a change to this again. I'm going to move it up there. This time I'm going to save it. So I'm using Control Save on my keyboard, or I can hit Save up here on the diagram, top left-hand corner, and you notice that it's been saved. So let's have a look and see what happens now. I'm going to move this one back onto another monitor and back at Stephen Maguire's model here, and you can see that a message box has popped up. The diagram deployment model has been modified by another user. It will remain locked against modifications until it has been reloaded. So let's reload it and see what happens. So
well, that change is reflected now.
Exactly, Scott. And at any point, if you want to get the latest version of the diagram, and for some reason you don't think it's been refreshed, you can always say reload the deployment model. There are circumstances where you may have missed that notification for some reasons, but that's a very useful feature. But let's look at the auto refresh, and that happened. What just happened then was a little bit kind of ad hoc, in the sense that Stephen didn't know that someone else was working on the diagram, and Jenny changed it. Let's have a look what happens with auto refresh. So what I can do is, it is in a disabled state at the moment, but what I can do is click on one of these numbers here, one of these intervals, and that enables it. So the first one says enable automatic refresh mode for the current model. Go back over that and set the refresh interval to 7 seconds. So that's a kind of nice, a nice amount of time. I'm going to set that. Yep. And now you can see that the option pause and edit has been enabled. Now, if I go into the diagram now and click on it, you'll see that the border has changed. And now it's come up with this green border. And actually, I can't move that element as I would have been able to before. The diagram has been locked. And in fact, if I go into Jenny's model as well, and let's just flick that onto the screen, you'll see exactly the same thing has gone on. The smartphone app
for her as well.
It's locked for her as well. So no one can touch it. But now what I've got the opportunity to do is say, look, I really want to start working on this diagram. So I'm going to say pause that and open up edit. So I'll do that. And now you can see the element is now available for me to make some changes to it. So let's do something a little bit different now, and let's change the shape of this element. And so we're very clear that that's happened. And let's maybe change, the color of it as well. So that will be a distinct change that we can notice. And so that's there. And we'll just line up these two guys in the center there, make the diagram look a little bit neater. And let's have a look what happened here. So I'll save that change there. And now if I go and bring Jenny's model back on, you'll see that her diagram has automatically been updated. She didn't get any message there at that point. She might have got a message, but she's closed that message and the auto refresh has worked there. Now, she still can't edit that diagram. So I'm still working on the diagram. And if you come back to my application, you can see that it's in a slightly different state to Jenny's. I've got resume there, and I can just say I'll resume that now. And you can see now that the diagram has gone 7 seconds refreshing, but no one can edit it still. And so Jenny comes along and says, look,
but that's 7 seconds. Does that mean the diagram gets reloaded every 7 seconds?
Yeah, the tool's looking out for changes every 7 seconds and saying, hey, something seems to have happened here. So let's again that up. So Jenny looks at it and says, look, I want to start working on the diagram now. Pause and edit. Clicks on this thing here. She can do that. She says, look, I like what you've done with the shape there, but I don't like the color. So I'm going to put it back into another color. So she says, look, I'm going to make it into maybe this pink color here, and she saves her model again. So let's put it back over there, and let's have a look at what's going to go on with Stephen's. And you can see now that Stephen's my diagram is updated straight away. So a really useful feature that allows you to work on the diagrams without treading on each other's toes. The tool without this auto refresh will still work, but this is a much more controlled way of working. Anyways, that you're taking responsibility for the diagram by saying I'm going to pause that auto refresh and I'm going to start editing, and you make your changes, save them. The other people's diagrams are updated, and then you can simply resume. So if you look at this, I've got pause and edit available, and Jenny's got resume. There. So
and I imagine you could use an element discussion to talk about the changes as well, and say, I made it pink. What do you think of this color? And
exactly. Yeah, lots of things there. We've got journals and discussions and all sorts of things that can help with that. But it's a very useful facility in the tool, and certainly when you're working with multiple people, it like I said, stops any problems with people stepping on each other's toes and lets the work continue in an orderly way. So if you are working in a team environment, I encourage you to do that. But remember, in a large repository, it's very unlikely for this to happen inadvertently, that 2 or 3 people are necessarily working on the same diagram. But it can happen, especially when you're focusing on a particular sprint, and maybe you've swarmed onto a particular user story, and there's work to be done in the model on that diagram. But as I said, you'll be able to see those items being refreshed.
No, that's great, and it's good that it's all supported by Enterprise Architect, and you can pause it so no one else can make edits while you're making edits, and everyone's kind of kept in the loop, and yeah, it's a very powerful feature. Well, to our audience, I want to thank you for joining us today. It's been great to see an example of how multiple people can work on a single diagram at the same time. And the auto refresh feature and the ability to pause and edit and then resume to kind of hand back control between different people is quite powerful and quite useful. And I can imagine this being used with some of the other communication and collaboration features, such as element discussions and model mail, to help have a much more controlled and managed way of dealing with working on a diagram. As always, thanks, Stephen, for your expertise. If you want to reach out to Stephen about some of those collaboration features, his LinkedIn and website details are listed below in the video description. As always, if you've enjoyed this video or some of the other videos you've watched today, like, comment, and subscribe to the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. We always appreciate your feedback and your contribution to the Sparx Systems space on YouTube. It's fantastic to have you here. Thanks, Stephen. Greatly appreciated.
Always a pleasure, Scott.